What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and MCU. I'm your host, Warren Thompson, and if you're excited for Thor Love and Thunder, I'm about to tell you some news that is going to make you even more excited, as they have shown some test screenings for Thor Love and Thunder, and according to these test screenings, Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher is Marvel's best villain ever. Then we have the rest of the cast praising Christian Bale as Gorr and Russell Crowe as Zeus, and apparently he's going to be playing kind of a different role than we've ever really seen him play before, which apparently made for an even better performance. We also have some new info about Jane Foster's The Mighty Thor, which we'll dive into as well. So let's talk about all of this praise for Thor Love and Thunder, and thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. We'll get to them in a bit. So for those of you who may not be aware of this, Marvel and Disney and other studios as well do test screenings in advance before the movies come out to kind of gauge the reaction that the movie gets from the audience. This is a really great thing because it lets the studio know if some parts aren't that well received, or if some parts were, say, confusing, or if just the movie overall is a disaster. For example, they did these test screenings for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and from what I heard, the test audience was kind of confused about it all, and this led to reshoots. And these reshoots supposedly made Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness a better movie and less confusing. So these test screenings are really great, and they really help movies a lot. And apparently the feedback for Thor Love and Thunder is pretty dang good, specifically revolving around Christian Bale as the villain. Fans were super excited that Christian Bale was announced as the villain for Thor Love and Thunder, and even more excited when we found out that he was going to be playing Gorr the God Butcher. And if you bring such a big actor into the MCU like Christian Bale, you better hope that he delivers, and apparently he did. It's also looking like his story is going to be pretty deep and pretty complex, and we're going to actually sympathize with him as a villain a lot. Let's hear what the cast had to say about Christian Bale in this recent interview with Fandango.
What does Christian bring into the Thor universe?
Exactly what you'd want, hope, and expect. Nuance, complexity, depth, a sort of quirkiness to it, which I didn't see on the page. With any sort of classic villain, the fact that you find yourself empathizing or asking questions that they're asking or the ideas that they're posing. It's not just stock standard sort of evil villain.
Yeah, you like root for them sometimes.
Yeah,
him
which
sometimes,
is great if you're playing the hero. Yeah. Everyone's rooting for the villain. So
I'd say he's the most sympathetic villain they've had. He's also tested the highest out of any villain that Marvel's had.
So that's an extremely huge statement that Taika Waititi just said right there when he said he's also tested the highest out of any villain that Marvel's had. That's a huge statement because we've had Thanos, we've had Loki, we've had Red Skull, we've had all of these major iconic villains in the MCU with great performances from the actors that played them. But when Taika is talking about he tested highest, he's talking about that test audience reaction. And there could have been a few different times that they've showed this to different audiences, but whatever the situations were, according to Marvel Studios' tests, Christian Bale is the highest ranking villain that Marvel's had right now. Now, Chris Hemsworth and Taika Waititi say that you can empathize and sympathize with Christian Bale's Gorr the God Butcher villain. And this is because, if you know the comic book origin of Gorr the God Butcher, his whole entire family dies. In the comics, he has a wife and a bunch of sons, and slowly they all start to die. His wife dies, and then he only has one son left, where he begs the gods to help him, to spare his son, because he is desperately sick, but his son dies. So he believes that there are no gods, because if there were, why didn't they help him and his family? Now, because of this thinking, he gets exiled from his community, and as he's wandering the desert to die, he sees two gods fighting in the air. They fall to the ground, and he walks up to them, and he cannot believe his eyes that the gods are real. The Necro Sword presents itself to him and he kills one of the gods. Then he sets out to seek revenge on the gods because they are in fact real but did not help him. As weird as it sounds, you can actually sympathize with that story. He was begging for help to save his last son after all of his family, including his wife, had died. That's super sad. Then he finds out that the gods were real but didn't help him. So he gets pissed and he decides that the gods are kind of useless and sets out to kill them all. Now, amongst Christian Bale being in Thor Love and Thunder, we we also have Natalie Portman returning and Russell Crowe making his MCU debut as Zeus, and the cast just praises him. And we'll get to that in just a bit, but first, thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and things can get pretty stressful and pretty overwhelming. And that's why BetterHelp is such a great platform. If you need somebody to talk to or you just need to check up on your mental health, BetterHelp allows you to do just that. You can connect to and talk to a therapist right from your phone. And they have a very broad range of officially licensed therapists. Over 20,000 therapists in their network. So this makes it to where you can really find that therapist who is right for you. And if you go with a therapist and decide to change, you can do that for free. Since the pandemic, it's been a lot easier to do things and meet with people from the comfort of your home, and BetterHelp allows you to do that. And it's not just therapy sessions, you can message your therapist at any time. Head to betterhelp.com/cosmicwonder to answer some questions and get paired with a therapist within 48 hours. You'll also get 10% off your first month by clicking the link in the description down below. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/cosmicwonder. Now, as far as Zeus is concerned, here's what Chris Hemsworth had to say about Russell Crowe's performance. I never thought I'd see the day where Russell would appear on screen with hints at Gladiator imagery, yet with a wink, totally self-deprecating. He didn't hold back. I'm such a fan. I have been since I first started acting. There's such a weight and a seriousness to his performance and to him as an individual from afar. But meeting him, he has a great sense of humor and did whatever Taika asked on set, which was mind-blowing. And it was really fun to play with the mythology, going from Norse to Greek mythology. Taika pulls all these worlds together. Then Natalie Portman said about Russell Crowe, "It was so much fun to see Russell Crowe play Zeus and have such a great sense of humor with the character. It was fun to see him be silly. I think we're so used to him in these very strong, heroic roles, so it was fun to see him be able to let loose." So according to Chris Hemsworth, Russell Crowe is mind-blowing in this role, and according to Natalie Portman, he's also kind of silly. This is pretty different than what we're used to seeing Russell Crowe play, as far as movie roles go. He typically plays very serious roles like in Gladiator. But this is going to be a sort of silly movie, just like Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok was amazing, but it was kind of silly, which was awesome. And we've already seen the silliness be shown in the trailers where Zeus flicks Thor and accidentally knocks off all of his clothes. Russell Crowe, an amazing actor, being silly when we've never really seen that from him before, just adds to the awesomeness of Thor Love and Thunder. So far, it's said that Christian Bale is amazing as Gorr, Russell Crowe is fantastic as Zeus, and Taika Waititi has recently offered us a little glimpse of what Natalie Portman's Jane Foster the Mighty Thor is going to be like. He recently shared that he had to kind of convince Natalie Portman to come back, and he did that by convincing her that they're actually going to change Jane Foster from the first two movies and have her be kind of different, or really different, in Thor Love and Thunder. And what's funny is he actually kind of critiqued the old Jane Foster from the first two films. Here's what Taika Waititi had to say about convincing Natalie Portman to come back in Thor Love and Thunder as Jane Foster. "I went to her house and she gave me a glass of water. I think that what we did with Ragnarok was it made these movies appealing to other actors as well, like Christian Bale. Really, he saw that and he was like, I want to do something fun, and came here, wanted to be a part of this thing. And Natalie too, and I think that she was just wanting to make sure that, I don't even know how to say this, but her character in those first few films, it's probably not the most exciting version of the female character that we want from these films. I had to just talk to her about the fact that I wanted to change that character, just like we changed Thor's character for Ragnarok, and to give her a bit more license to be adventurous and fun, because Natalie's a really funny person. And sometimes those sort of things cannot, I don't know, they're not the main focus when they come up with characters and, in films. So Taika says that they pretty much had to change Jane Foster's character for Thor Love and Thunder, which is a great thing because, again, the first two films aren't received that very well from the fandom. But there certainly is a lot more that they could have done with the character, and it's good to know that Taika Waititi is doing that with Jane Foster in Thor Love and Thunder. So expect Jane to be really, really awesome, but also at the same time expect her to be silly and funny, much like the vibes in Thor Ragnarok. It looks like a lot of the humor is going to be coming from obviously the main cast, but also from Zeus and Jane Foster, and then we get the seriousness from Christian Bale's Gorr the God Butcher. But with these raving reviews and praise of these actors and their roles, I am even more excited to watch Thor Love and Thunder now, and it's less than 1 month away. So Let me know how excited you are to watch it in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest news. For live updates, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.